Let's talk about self-love. Not the kind you post baba on Instagram. Not bubble baths, shopping sprees, or repeating I'm enough in the mirror while still doubting inside. Real self-love. The quiet, uncomfortable, unglamorous type that doesn't always feel good, but changes everything. We often think of self-love as something soft, comforting and easy, bubble baths, treats, affirmations. But real self-love is far from that. It's not always about feeling good in the moment. It's about doing good for yourself in the long run. Sometimes it looks like making the harder choice, waking up early when your body wants to sleep, walking away from people who don't value you, or holding yourself accountable when you're tempted to give up. It's not just self-soothing, it's about respect. Many of us confuse loving ourselves with avoiding pain, but that's not love, that's fear. True self-love is choosing the discomfort that leads to growth over the comfort that keeps us stuck. It means ending toxic relationships, even if you're scared of being alone. It means taking action toward your goals, even when doubt creeps in. Avoiding hard things doesn't protect you, it slowly erodes your confidence. When you love yourself, you're willing to feel discomfort for the sake of your own evolution. We also betray ourselves in ways we don't even notice. Saying a yes to things we don't want, staying quiet to keep the peace, pretending to be someone we're not, all of this chips away at our inner trust. You can't claim to love yourself while constantly abandoning yourself. Real love means being loyal to your truth, even if it upsets others or requires uncomfortable change. It means treating yourself with the same care, honesty, and consistency you give to someone you truly love. And perhaps the hardest part of self-love is letting go of the version of you that got used to surviving. That part of you learned to shrink, to please, to hide. But now, that version may be holding you back. Self-love is having the courage to evolve. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about becoming more of who you really are, without the layers of fear and performance. Every day, you get to choose love, not just in how you treat others, but in how you treat yourself. And that choice changes everything. We often run from discomfort, thinking that avoiding pain is the same as protecting ourselves. But in truth, avoiding the pain of growth only traps us in cycles that quietly drain our self-worth. Real self-love isn't about avoiding hard feelings. It's about choosing the kind of pain that leads somewhere. The pain of setting boundaries, of saying goodbye to someone who doesn't value you, or of standing alone in your truth is very different from the pain of staying stuck in something that slowly breaks you. Walking away from someone who treats you like an option is one of the hardest things you'll ever do, especially when your heart still wants to believe they'll change. But staying where you are not seen or chosen slowly eats away at your self-respect. Choosing yourself over that longing is a painful decision, but it's the kind of pain that rebuilds you. It teaches you what you deserve. It makes room for peace and clarity that can't exist in the presence of confusion and emotional crumbs. Growth doesn't always feel good in the moment. Sometimes it feels like loneliness, uncertainty, and grief. But those feelings come with movement. Staying comfortable might keep you from short-term pain, but in the long term, it leaves you with a deeper ache, the kind that comes from living beneath your potential or begging for love in places where it's not freely given. That quiet ache of regret is far heavier than the temporary sting of letting go. When you choose the right kind of pain, You're choosing yourself. You're showing yourself that your peace matters more than temporary comfort. You're proving that you believe in a future where your needs are met and your worth is recognized. That choice builds something inside you that no one else can give you: self-respect, resilience, and the deep, unshakable knowing that you are enough even when it hurts. Self-love loses its meaning when you keep betraying your own truth. Every time you agree to something that doesn't align with your heart, you send a message to yourself that your feelings are not important. It's subtle, but powerful. You become used to silencing your voice just to keep the peace or avoid conflict, but in doing so, you create an even deeper war within. Your mind knows what you want, but your actions say the opposite. And that disconnect builds inner frustration and quiet resentment. When you stay in places where you feel unvalued or invisible, you're not being loyal to yourself. Even if you convince yourself that it's just temporary or that it's not a big deal, your heart remembers. You start to doubt your own worth because your choices reflect someone who accepts less. It's not about blame, it's about awareness. The longer you ignore your own boundaries or let others define your value, the harder it becomes to recognize your own needs and protect them. True self-love is a commitment to honesty with yourself, even when it's uncomfortable. It's about learning to say no without guilt and standing up for your truth even when your voice trembles. It means being willing to disappoint in order and to remain in alignment with your own soul. This isn't about being harsh or cold, it's about being deeply respectful of the person you live with every day. Yourself. Because if you won't protect your peace, no one else will. The most powerful thing you can do for your growth is to stop abandoning yourself. Make choices that reflect your worth, even when it's inconvenient. Walk away from things that dull your spirit, even if it scares you. Speak up when something doesn't feel right, even if you're afraid of being misunderstood. These small, consistent acts of self-loyalty build a foundation of love that can't be shaken. And once you stop betraying yourself, you stop depending on others to prove your value, start living it. We live in a world that teaches to only show our highlights. We post our best pictures, our achievements, our proudest moments, and we hide the rest, the flaws, the failures, the fears. Over time, we start doing the same with ourselves. We accept only the parts of us that feel shiny and successful, and we try to bury everything else. But that's not love, that's performance. Real self-love begins when we stop filtering who we are, even from ourselves. It's easy to love yourself when things are going well, when you feel confident and capable. But the real test of love is how you treat yourself when you mess up, when you're insecure, when everything feels like it's falling apart. If your self-worth only shows when you're winning, it's not real, it's conditional. And love, by nature, is not supposed to be conditional. Loving yourself means holding space for the messy, human parts of you without shame. You have scars. You've made mistakes. You've believed things about yourself that weren't true. And still, here you are trying, growing. The version of you that made it through hard things deserves to be seen and loved, not erased. Those parts of you tell a story not of weakness, but of survival. To look at yourself fully and say, I still choose you, even when it's hard, is one of the bravest things you'll ever do. You don't have to pretend to be perfect to be worthy of love. The most freeing moment comes when you stop hiding from yourself. When you look at your reflection, not the curated version, but the whole, unfiltered truth, and you decide you are still enough. That's where self-respect begins. That's where healing begins. That's where real, unshakable self-love is born. Not in the highlight reel, but in the quiet decision to accept all of you. We spend so much of our lives trying to be liked, trying to fit in, trying to be enough in someone else's eyes. It starts early, seeking approval from parents, teachers, friends, and later, partners and strangers online. Without realizing it, we begin measuring our worth by the reactions of others. A compliment makes us feel good, a criticism tears us down, and silence makes us question everything. We lose ourselves in a constant performance, tailoring who we are based on how we'll be received. Self-love cannot survive in a life around external validation. The truth is, no matter how much praise you get, it will never feel like enough if you don't believe it for yourself. Real self-love happens when you stop chasing applause and start asking deeper questions. Who am I becoming? Am I proud how I handle hard moments? Do I speak kindly to myself when no one's watching? These questions matter far more than how many people approve of you. It's a powerful shift when you begin to live for your future self instead of for other people. Suddenly, choices become clear. You start doing things not because they'll impress someone, but because they'll shape you into someone you admire. You walk away from what's easy or popular and move toward what's honest and aligned. You start becoming someone you'd look up to, someone consistent, strong, loving, and grounded. That's what true self-worth is built on. There's nothing wrong with being appreciated by others, but when their approval becomes your source of identity, you'll always be chasing. Peace comes when you choose to live for the person you're becoming, not for the crowd you're trying to please. You realize that your value isn't up for debate, and it was never supposed to be proven through someone else's eyes. The moment you stop living to be liked, you finally start living to be real. And in that space, self-love can finally breathe. Loving yourself often requires doing things that others might not understand. It means choosing your well-being, even if it disappoints people who've grown comfortable with you sacrificing your needs. You are not here to constantly explain yourself or to stretch beyond your limits just to be accepted. The truth is, not everyone will support your growth, especially if it challenges the dynamic they're used to. But that's okay. You're not responsible for managing everyone else's emotions at the cost of your own peace. Setting boundaries can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to putting others first. You might feel guilty, anxious, or afraid that people will walk away. But here's the reality. People who truly love and respect you will never leave because you started valuing yourself. The ones who do leave were only ever there for what you gave, not for who you are. Protecting your peace isn't selfish, it's necessary. It's a clear message to yourself that you are worth protecting, even if others don't see it. Peace doesn't come from avoiding conflict or keeping everyone happy. It comes from honoring what feels right deep inside you. That might mean saying no to invitations that drain you, distancing yourself from negativity, or even walking away from people who constantly bring chaos into your life. Every time you choose calm over chaos, clarity over confusion, and alignment over approval, you reinforce your self-worth. You begin to rebuild trust with yourself, and that is a powerful form of love. In the end, the life you're creating is yours. You're the one who has to live with your decisions, your energy, your mind. No one else can truly understand what you need, so waiting for their permission will only delay your peace. Loving yourself means creating space for joy and stability, even if others don't applaud it. It's knowing that you don't need loud validation for quiet decisions. It's choosing your peace and doing so unapologetically. One of the deepest blocks to self-love is the inability to forgive yourself. You hold on to mistakes like they define who you are, replaying them in your mind over and over, as if punishing yourself long enough will somehow make things right. But shame doesn't fix the past, it only poisons the present. No matter how badly you wish you could undo something, the truth is it already happened, and dragging it around with you won't change it. It will only keep you stuck in a version of yourself you've already outgrown. We all make choices we're not proud of. We've said things we regret, stayed when we should have walked away, and ignored our instincts because we didn't feel strong enough to trust them. But growth doesn't mean never messing up, it means learning from it. If you can look back and see how far you've come, that's proof enough that you're not the same person you were then. You're evolving, and evolution requires grace. Real self-love includes the courage to say, yes, I made mistakes, but I refuse to let them define me. Forgiving yourself isn't about forgetting what happened or pretending it didn't matter. It's about acknowledging it fully and still choosing to move forward with compassion. It's saying to yourself, I did the best I could with what I knew at the time, and then letting go. Carrying guilt forever doesn't make you a better person. In fact, it keeps you from becoming the person you're meant to be, because it locks you into a cycle, a cell of self-punishment instead of self-growth. When you finally decide to stop judging yourself for who you were, you open up space to love who you are now. You begin to understand that your past was a chapter, not your entire story. And with every step forward, you build new relationship with yourself, one rooted in acceptance, understanding, and healing. That's when true self-love starts to take root, not in perfection, but in forgiveness. Sometimes the hardest part of self-love is realizing that the version of you who helped you survive may not be the version who can help you thrive. You built that version out of necessity. She knew how to keep quiet to avoid conflict, how to please others to feel safe, how to make herself small so she wouldn't be a burden. She was resourceful, strong, and resilient in her own way. And for a long time, she kept you going when things felt overwhelming. But survival is not the same as living. And that version of you wasn't built for the future you're trying to create. There comes a time when you have to look at who you've become and ask yourself if the habits you formed in survival are still serving. The people-pleasing, the self-doubt, the avoidance of your own needs, those may have protected you once. But now they're keeping you stuck. You don't owe it to your past to keep carrying behaviors that drain you. You owe it to your future to start choosing differently. And that starts with recognizing that letting go of old patterns doesn't mean you're ungrateful, it means you're growing. Real self-love is not about rejecting your past, but about honoring it and still choosing to move forward. It means saying thank you to the version of you who held everything together, who didn't give up, even when things were messy or painful. That part of you deserves recognition and love, but she also deserves rest. You don't have to keep living in survival mode just because it's familiar. You're allowed to write your story, to change the way you show up, and to create space for peace, confidence, and joy. The version of you that thrives will not need to hustle for validation or hide her feelings to feel safe. She will stand in her truth, even when it's uncomfortable, and she will honor her needs without guilt. Becoming her doesn't happen overnight, it happens in quiet, brave decisions every day. And as you begin to release the weight who you had to be, you'll discover the freedom to come who you really are. That's what self-love looks like releasing the past, not with resentment, but with grace. We spend so much of our lives chasing this invisible point will finally feel good enough. We think once we fix everything, look a certain way, achieve enough, or finally stop making mistakes, then we'll deserve love not just from others, but from ourselves. But that finish line doesn't exist. Every time you close, it moves. And the harder you try to prove your worth through perfection, the more exhausted and disconnected you become. The truth is, you were never meant to earn your worth. It's not something you unlock after achieving a perfect body, flawless behavior, or a list of accomplishments. You were worthy the moment you were born. And you were still worthy the moment you felt lost, the moment you broke down, the moment you failed. Nothing you do can take away that core truth. Self-love begins when you stop trying to become enough and start remembering that you already are. There's a kind of peace that comes when you stop trying to be flawless. You give yourself permission to be human, to try, to fall short, to feel insecure, and to still be worthy of care and respect. That doesn't mean you stop growing or reaching for better things. It just means your growth is no longer fueled by shame. You can want more for your life while still being kind to yourself in the process. You can evolve without using self-criticism as your only motivation. When you let go of the belief that you have to become perfect before you love yourself, you begin to heal. You stop waiting for some future version of you to show up and make everything okay. You realize that the version of you right now, as imperfect and unfinished as she may feel, is still deserving of love, rest, patience, and joy. And in that realization, something powerful happens. Stop striving to become enough and start living like you already are. Self-love is often misunderstood as a final destination, as if one day you'll wake up completely healed, confident, and at peace, never to struggle again. That's not how it works. Self-love is a finish line you cross after reading a few books or going through a transformation. It's a daily choice. A quiet, consistent decision to treat yourself with respect, especially on the days when it would be easier not to. There will be days you feel strong and proud of yourself, and there will be days you feel tired, messy, and unsure, and both kinds of days require love. You don't need breakthrough to begin loving yourself. It happens in small, honest moments. When you speak to yourself with kindness after making a mistake instead of tearing yourself down. When you choose rest without guilt. When you say no to something that doesn't feel right, even if it's uncomfortable. These choices may seem small, but they build a powerful relationship with yourself over time. They show you that you can trust your own care, that you have your own back even when life feels heavy. There will be times when you slip, when you fall back into old habits of self-doubt or criticism. That doesn't mean you failed, it means you're human. The difference is that, now, you're aware. And with that awareness, you can pause, reset, and choose again. Self-love isn't about getting it right every time. It's about being willing to come back to yourself over and over, no matter how far you've drifted. That willingness is what builds self-respect and inner strength. Choosing self-love daily means holding your standards high, not out of pressure, but out of care. It means not settling for less than what feels right in your soul, even if no one else understands. It means asking yourself what you truly need each day and honoring that answer, even when it's hard. Over time, these choices compound. They shape not only how you see yourself, but how the world sees and treats you. And the more you show up for yourself, the less you seek permission to be who you are.